disappeared.
Stay here. I'll go get him. I'll be right back.
Jason! Jason!
I wrote down here that I should yell, "Jason! Jason!" at you for about 5 minutes, but I'm going to spare everyone listening and just get right into it. Heavy Rain is a murder mystery adventure game in which you play through 4 protagonists' separate storylines that all convene sooner or later by the finale. Throughout the game, your actions and the decisions you make directly determine the outcome of the game. They're action sequences which are played out through a series of button cues. This game was developed by Quantic Dream, creators of Indigo Prophecy, a title I haven't played but also carries the same interesting angle of cinematic storytelling.
Ethan, what happened? The police. They're out there. I think they're here to arrest you.
This game was obviously made in France for a few reasons. For one, the accents of the voice actors bleed through on numerous occasions, especially with the children. Second, there is nudity, not necessarily gratuitous, but casual nudity. That's right, guys and dolls, you get to see some dude butt and some lady tatas. My last point of Francedom is obviously the red balloon. Of course the little boy is going to pick the red balloon. They have a whole film dedicated to that.
Which balloon would you like, Jason?
The red one.
I was disenchanted with Heavy Rain before I even picked it up. It mostly had to do with all of the decisions. You know how tough it is for me just to decide what to eat for dinner? It's like a constant battle. Do I have pizza? I could always make mashed potatoes. Oh my god, there's leftover Chinese. Where do the options end? Heavy Rain is like my worst nightmare. So for those reasons, I waited almost a year after Heavy Rain's initial release to sit down and play it. When I started, I expected to feel a little more attached. In a title that rests solely on the laurels of you caring what happens to the protagonists, the connection didn't initially come across. The lack of interaction options felt suffocating at times. 95% of the time you're slowly moving about in an environment, and the other 5% you're required to pay so much attention to the button cues that you can't even tell what your successive presses are doing. But amazingly, the further I pressed into this title, the more I realized that Heavy Rain is actually fun. It's a good game that's buried under about 3 hours of detached and sometimes annoying gameplay, looking right at you, X to Jason. It took work to get to the real meat of the game, but in the end, it all felt strangely worthwhile. The turning point for me was in the doctor's house with Madison. I felt legitimately uneasy and sick throughout that whole chapter. From there on out, I became fully immersed in the game and spent the last 6 hours on the edge of my seat.
Hold tight. This might sting him.
By the time the large amount of cinematic epilogues played, the overall concept had tightly wrapped itself around my brain, and I found myself thoroughly entertained. I was still plotting future gameplay where I would do everything wrong, screw saving Sean and lose every fight, attempt to kill off important characters, and let indecision rule. Even though my intentions were evil, this game had sucked me in. Clocking in at around 9 hours, Quantic Dream managed to make me serious using plot. Only plot. I hated the controls, as my least favorite thing in any game design is press X not to die, and was weirded out by the look of the characters. Even on its hardest setting, Heavy Rain wasn't even an incredibly challenging game, but the plot worked. At times I even found myself cheering on characters or feeling my heart racing as I button queued my way through fights. So by the end of this game, you will know who the killer is, and there will probably be a commenter who ruins the whole thing for you via the anonymity of YouTube, but there is replayability in Heavy Rain. Compatibility has been released for the PlayStation Move, which offers a new facet to gameplay, but that's merely superfluous. I was left with further curiosity as how I could affect the game and what different endings I could receive. Not just that, but how I could manage to screw up certain chapters and how it would play out if I did everything wrong. Curiosity will kill this cat, but I'm okay with it. This PlayStation exclusive title is well worth your time and money, and teaches you the important lesson of why people who make origami are inherently evil.
Yeah. Ooh. You motherfucker! Were you talking about my mother, you big monkey in a